Welcome to College Basketball Today, Episode 3. Today's date, November 12th. Let's get into our starting lineup in an exciting game in Gotham as Alabama and Nate Oates go into the world's most famous arena and stun Rick Pitino and the St. John's Red Storm with a 103-96 win in an extremely high-scoring, high-paced, and exciting game at MSG. And what's of note is the play of the guards of Alabama. Filion and obviously Aiden Holloway were fantastic, scoring 46 points for Nate Oates. They got 17 points from Wrightsell and, of course, Bull Bowen, particularly in the second half. Big plays by Bull Bowen in the pick and roll game. St. John's Zubiet's four was fantastic with a double-double, 27 points. Obviously, you got to look at the play of Bryce Hopkins, a transfer from Providence, played well as for them, and Sellers and Ian Jackson got 14 apiece for St. John's. So why did they win? Simply put, as a coach, let me take you into the huddle and tell you what I saw. St. John's decided they were going to switch all ball screens early in the game. Nate Oates recognized it, got himself into favorable matchups for Holloway and Filion to kind of get space, being guarded by a big with the ability to drive or step back and make the three. St. John's adjusted to the second half. They tried to play straight up, maybe a little bit of a hedge. But what happened was in basketball terms, you want your the guy on offense to be going east-west on ball screens, being sideline to sideline. St. John's kept opening up their hips and allowing Filion and Aiden Holloway to turn the corner. It didn't matter that both of them had 4 fouls in the last 5 minutes, and one of them fouled out. It did not matter. They could not stop them. And you talked about Rick Pitino after the game about the worst defensive performance in New York City basketball history. He may have been right. But I will say this, very, very impressed by the scoring acumen of both teams. And if they could shore up their defenses, both teams will make a run and march. And I mean a deep one. Next, ranked versus ranked matchup. In the end zone, two good friends, John Calipari, Tom Izzo. Michigan State defeats Arkansas by a play of 69-66. When you look at this game, if you talk about the guard play in game one, it's about the forward play in game number two. Jackson Kohler, who I talked about last week as being an integral part of Michigan State, outplayed Trayvon Brazil, getting 10 points and 7 rebounds. But it was more than that. It was Cohen Carr getting you 15 points and 7 rebounds. But what can you say about the freshman, Cam Ward? No. Not the Cam Ward that played in Miami that's with the Tennessee Titans. The Cam Ward, the basketball player, 6'8" monster, double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds. See, this is what I love about Izzo. He'll play anyone. Same thing you could say about Cal. This game may not mean much to a lot of people, but it means a lot to me that they played each other, and they should both be competitive teams once they get into March. Big win by Michigan State in a really great game, 69-66. Well, what's great about college basketball on the men's side is last night, Tuesday night, we had 3 ranked versus ranked matchups. Let's get to them really quickly. Louisville gets revenge. 96-88. They win the Bluegrass State battle over Kentucky. And you just got to look quickly at Ryan Conwell and Mikal Brown. Mikal Brown, stud freshman. They were dynamite. And I'm talking about dynamite. Combined for 55 points and 7 made threes as they were the 2 best players on the floor. Now, Kentucky got down big, and they made a run in the second half. But I will say this. Pat Kelsey's done a really good job. As bad as a job that was being done before. It's amazing how quickly you can turn it around with the right coach and the right transfer. Next big matchup that we had take place was an 81-77 win by Illinois over Texas Tech in a really good game in Champaign. And I want to take this opportunity really quick to talk about 2 people. Number one, you have to talk about Andrei Stojakovic. Stojakovic, I know that name. Yes, that's Peja's son. Peja's son, great player that played for the Sacramento Kings and Dallas Mavericks. His son is a little bit of a different player than he is. Andre is more of a pull-up game driver slasher, whereas Peja was more of a three-point marksman. And that scoring ability off the bench to go along with Ivasic, who was a game-time decision, ended up playing. Obviously, Wagler, the freshman, giving you 11 and 7, and Kylan Boswell being the best player on the floor, giving you 22 points. That's a big win for Illinois. I want to say this. We keep talking about all these great coaches, whether it's Pope or Izzo or Dusty May or Drew or I can go down up and down the line. Patino, Hurley. Why don't we talk about Brad Underwood? His kids play so hard, and it's amazing to watch Brad Underwood, a guy that was a Bobby Huggins disciple, right? Went to Stephen F. Austin, got that team to the Sweet 16, went to Oklahoma State, boom, left after a year and went to Illinois, and has done a great job and has made this team a perennial powerhouse. And for them to get that big win, what a job, 81-77, as Illinois takes out Texas Tech. One last game of note last night, and I'm going to tell you this right now. If Mark Few calls you and tells you that they want to play, now in the conference, home game, rank, hang up the phone. 90-63, an absolute bloodbath what they did to Greg McDermott, another great coach that we talk about a lot. Braden Huff getting better. Graham Ike, All-American, right? Grant Foster coming off the bench. They're just so dynamic and they could score. It will take a little bit of time for Creighton to get going, but they'll be okay. Let's jump really quickly to a big injury as Seth Trimble suffered a broken arm in the weight room. In the weight room, after the biggest win that Hubert Davis has had in years, beating Kansas, to lose their star guard is going to be a problem. They're going to have to rally the troops, but I expect Hubert Davis to give his best effort here, because if Hubert Davis don't win, no one cares about Seth Trimble's broken arm. He won't have a job after this season. Two quick women's games of note. USC wins 69-68 versus NC State is a ranked versus ranked matchup, top 10 matchup. Jazzy Davidson, fantastic. We'll talk a little bit about Jazzy Davis in our future focus. And then obviously NC State in their obviously star guard Zoe Brooks, the pride of the Jersey Shore. And then you could talk about obviously the play of their big, who actually played really, really well as she had a double-double. And that's obviously Camille Pierre. But we'll talk a little bit about them as they have a big matchup with TCU. We'll get to that in our final 4 minutes. Last game, UCLA 73-59 over Oklahoma. Oklahoma team, number 6 team in the country. People think they're a Final Four team possibility. Here's the deal. Lauren Betts is there. She's a stud. She's a 6'7" All-American. 6'7". There you go. I mean, I owe my kid $1. But I'll say this. It will come down to 2 words for Corey Close's team. Guard play. They got the center. Can they get the guard play to possibly win a national championship? Coming up next, we'll get into our future focus. We'll stick just to the women's side. We'll look at the expectations for the UConn Huskies and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and then we'll look at 2 studs, Jazzy Davidson and, of course, Olivia Miles of TCU. We'll be back with our future focus after this commercial break. Welcome back to College Basketball Today, Episode 3. And it's time to get into our future focus. But we're going to spend our future focus on the women's side of basketball today. I just want to quickly note how amazing this game is on the women's side with the teams and the players. And we'll focus on two teams, two individual players. Let's start with the defending national champion, UConn Huskies. UConn, number one team in the country coming into the year, 2-0 to begin the season. Gino's troops look to be locked and loaded. And why are they locked and loaded? You start off with that lady right there, and that's AZ Fudd. Gotta remember, folks, AZ Fudd was the most outstanding player in last year's Final Four. And when AZ Fudd kind of finally got going from recovering from her ACL tear, it was that game on that Sunday at South Carolina where they blew the doors off. And when I looked at them and said, uh-oh, they're going to win a national championship. And I'll say it right now, and Matt, my George producer, will back me up. I called them winning a national championship before the season started because I expected her to have the season that she had. But it's deeper than that this year. It's also Sarah Strong, who could be the best player in women's college basketball. Oh, she's also a sophomore, and she's getting you 21 points, 9 rebounds, 4.5 assists per game. But to me, the key cog for this team is KK Arnold. A KK Arnold that 2 years ago was a starter as a freshman, came off the bench because Paige was back for her last year, and KK's off to 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 steals, 2 assists per game. Defender, lockdown, does all the grunt work. She is going to be a problem, but there's deeper than that. Caroline Ducharme, who had injuries concerns over the years. Alafi is back. But it's also the play of Kaylee Heckle. You know Kaylee Heckle, remember her? She was at USC, but she's a New York kid, came back East Coast to be a transfer player for Gino. Remember, Gino does not go into the portal much, but this team is locked and loaded, and there is a reason why they are the favorites to win the national championship this year, and that's the UConn Huskies. Let's head to maybe the most exciting player in women's college basketball, and that's Hannah Hidalgo. You know, I don't know. Maybe I like just talking about Jersey kids all the time. But Hannah Hidalgo and the number 15 Fighting Irish on Notre Dame is in a year of transition, right? When you look at the fact that dynamic backcourt that she had with Olivia Miles, we'll talk about Olivia in a couple of minutes. But Olivia Miles transfers to TCU. Sonia Citron goes top 5 in the WNBA draft. Kylie Watson, another Jersey kid, transfers out and goes to Villanova. This puts a lot of pressure on Hannah and Coach Ivey. You got to remember this, folks. Hannah Hidalgo is a flat-out scorer, getting you almost 30 points per game, 5.5 assists, 7 rebounds. Bro, she's 5'5", and she has the ability to wreck games with her ability to steal the ball. But there's another player that stayed back for them that's of note, and that's Cassandra Prosper, who's giving you 21 points per game, 5.5 rebounds. So they have a two-headed monster, and then if you look at it, they haven't really played anybody yet, folks. So let's just be honest with these stats. You got another player, Vanessa De Jesus, who's a transfer, giving you 18.5 points per game. KK Bransford giving you 17 points per game, 17 points and 9 rebounds per game. So when you look at this team, they had to kind of reload themselves via the transfer portal. I think it's what's of note to look at this team and say, can they put it together? I think this is a big year for Coach Ivey because I feel like at times this team has underachieved when it comes to March. I know they made a run last year and they got bit by the TCU bug not once, twice. We'll see what happens this year with arguably one of the best players in the country, preseason All-American, and that's Hannah Hidalgo. Let's move on to a freshman and a senior. And we've talked about Jazzy Davidson a little bit earlier, but Jazzy Davidson's off to a tremendous start at USC. 17.5 points per game, 30.8% from the floor. That's not what she wants to be at about 89% from the foul line. And you just kind of look at Jazzy as kind of a jack of all trades guard that can kind of do it all for a USC team that, remember, folks, is not going to have, obviously, Juju Watkins. It'll be interesting to see what transpires with USC this year, as really the year is next year, in which they'll have the number one player again, the class of 2026, committed to USC. So this will be a really exciting year for Lindsey Gottlieb and having Jazzy Davidson, and then Lord have mercy, next year when they get Juju back, oh my Lord, everyone duck. Let's end our future focus with a star and a player that I've gotten to see, watch grow up. Yes, 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 she's from Jersey too, and that's Olivia Miles. I don't think people realize how great of a player Olivia Miles is. Before Hannah Doggo got to Notre Dame, you could argue that she was the best point guard in college basketball besides Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. She is transferred to TCU to play for Mark Campbell and Chavi Lopez and what I call point guard you. You know why? Marte. You know that name? Go look it up. Sabrina Ionescu, go look it up. Go look what they did at Sacramento State for 2 years. Player of the year, point guard. Their starting point guard their first year was leading the nation in assists before she got hurt. You put this kid and this offense with Bixby and obviously Maddie Scher, who's coming back from injury. And then we'll talk a little bit about Marta Suarez, a kid that you may not know, who is a bona fide pro. Olivia Miles, no disrespect to anybody, is the best point guard in college basketball. And you put her in that ball screen offense with shooters, this lady is a walking highlight. Go to YouTube. Go look at her clips. Go watch me on social media, because what she's doing is fantastic, and that's why I think this team's going to the Final Four. Coming up next, we'll get to the fastest 4 minutes of college basketball. We'll preview a big game between BYU and UConn. We'll take a look at Houston versus Auburn and two big women's games as we wrap up college basketball today after this commercial break. Welcome to College Basketball Today, Episode 3, and it's time to get into the fastest 4 minutes of basketball with our Final Four. And let's lead off with a big matchup Saturday night in the Hall of Fame Series game, and that's between UConn and BYU. Game will take place in Boston, and this is really a high-powered matchup between two teams that are going to be firmly inside the top 10, maybe even the top 5 come next week. When you look at this matchup, you really have to look at the experience of UConn. Obviously, with solo ball coming in, averaging 18.3 points per game. Alex Caravan, been at UConn for, 35 years. He's been there so long. And you just look at the way Dan Hurley's got this team playing. I expect a really tough matchup here. And it'll be interesting to see UConn go against AJ DeBanza and obviously Richie Saunders and BYU and see how they play this game. UConn's going to want to make this game kind of a street fight, right? Really lean on their experience and toughness. This will be a huge test for both teams, and it will tip off Saturday in Boston, the Hall of Fame Series game, and that's between UConn and BYU. Now to the 2K25 Battleground game between Houston and Auburn, scheduled to take place on Sunday. This is really going to be about, to me, Houston has not looked like Houston yet. But you got to look at Kingston Flemings and actually Chris Sinak integrating two freshmen into the lineup, obviously with Emmanuel Sharp, with Milos Uzan, with Joseph Tugler. We haven't seen that level of defense yet out of Kelvin Sampson's team. Now you look at Auburn and Coach Pearl retiring and his son taking over. This is his first test. And this is his first time going against a team the level of Houston. I expect Houston to clamp this game down, put this in the half court, and really look to kind of defend Keyshawn Hall and really make it extremely difficult. Let me tell you right now, see that stat? 75% from three? That's not happening against Houston. Be a low-scoring game. Be fun to watch. Let's head to the women's side, where South Carolina takes on USC. Obviously, with the transfer of Malaysia Fulawali out, Joyce Edwards, sophomore year, Raymond Johnson back, experienced team. Obviously, Chloe Kitt's out for the year. We know that. Versus that young core with Jazzy Davidson after getting that big win over NC State. This will be a really big test for Lindsey Gottlieb's crew because I really feel like you're going to have a really motivated Dawn Staley and South Carolina after they got embarrassed in the national championship game by UConn this past year. I don't want to be on the other side of South Carolina. And although this is going to be an intriguing matchup, my lean is going to be to South Carolina to get the win. Let's end today's podcast talking about another big matchup, and that is TCU versus NC State. Last year, NC State went to TCU and really gave Mark Campbell his first signature win. But there's a lot that's changed with TCU. Sedona Prince is gone. Haley Van Lith is gone. Madison Connor is gone. But there's a new crop of players being led by Olivia Miles and obviously Suarez, who I want to say, Monte Suarez is a pro. This team in TCU is better than last year's team, in my opinion. I made it to the Elite Eight. They're more dynamic. They shoot the ball better. And with all due respect to Haley Van Lith, she's not Olivia Miles. No way, no shape, no how. It'll be interesting to see what happens at K-Cal Court, because Zoe Brooks is going to be ready for him. And Zoe Brooks is an absolute bucket. Be sure to watch that matchup this weekend between TCU and NC State. This has been College Basketball Today, episode 3 for November 12th. For all things college basketball, download the Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best. For my producer, Matty George, who does a fantastic job, thanks for listening, folks. And remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.